Hey!
We are here.
Welcome to the basement, gang. How's it going? For those of you who don't know, I'm Matt Zepp. I work brand here at Gun, creators of Texas Chainsaw, and I'm joined by none other than...
I'm Wes Keltner, the CEO. Man, this feels weird.
Really feels weird.
Because it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years?
3 years. I think somebody said on social, somebody said on social, they were like, last live 3 years ago, that hurts. And it's like, yeah, tell us about it. But as you can see, if you were watching back then, we have like a whole new setup here. Wes, before we go too far, because we're going to get into metagame today, gang. In case you're not really sure why we're live, we're covering metagame today. We're going to be talking about metagame and showing you guys a bunch of the skill trees and ability trees and things like that. But before we go into that, why don't you talk a little bit about what we did?
Well, before we were in this smaller, like almost coat closet of a room, it was pretty tiny. We used to do a couple streams a week. Of course, that was back in our Friday 13th days. And we made the most of a small space, and it worked, it was fine. But since then, our office space has grown a little. We've added more folks to the team. And when we built on, we knew we wanted a room dedicated to just streaming. And so we went a little bigger and started focusing on, Matt and I sat down forever talking, like, what's this room supposed to look like? Like, are we trying to do something that looks like it is Texas? Does it look like the Texas house? Does it look like a late 70s basement? And then once we kind of started discussing that, we were like, wait a minute, like, there's something to this, because both of us, and I think a lot of you, least if you're, elder gamers like we are, this is a similar setting. This may feel a little nostalgic for you because you had little dingy basements with this, old hand-me-down furniture, and you sat and played, pinning your age, at an Atari 2600, NES, Super NES, like wherever you were. But that was the thing that we really started locking into, was that feeling of you and the homies hanging out in the basement. Maybe you're watching a horror movie, maybe you're playing video games. Like, this started to resonate with us, and we just put a few, sort of Texas pieces as well to really sort of drive it home. But just want you to guys know, I've got you here. You're on chat. Your chat is here in front of me on the tablet. So I'll try to answer questions when we get to that part. But I just want to let you know that's what this is in my lap. So if you want to get into talk a little bit about the set stuff, we can do that too. But that's the sort of genesis of this. We went through a lot of different thrift stores and whatnot to find the pieces that we knew we wanted. We got we picked up the furniture, and this is period correct furniture. Like, this is, I think, 1968 or 9 couch, and the chair was around the same period.
Yeah.
And we had to get them both like fumigated and deodorized. Like,
twice actually. This couch that I'm sitting on was cleaned twice before any of us were willing to sit on it, and then after the second cleaning, we were like, okay, now it's good. It doesn't smell like,
Yeah. Somebody said this is Grandpa's chair. It does have that vibe for sure.
But what you said though about the basement set, I think the part of it that really hit me was I remember stealing off to hide and watch those VHS movies with my older sister that we weren't supposed to be watching. We had no business watching these horror movies at this age, but that's where we would go and do that. We would go to the rec room, and it looked like this. It looked half grandma and half we taped our own things up on the walls and made it our own. So I love this new spot. And for those of you who used to watch and remember, we'll be doing our Tales from the streams here. We'll be doing all of our special events here. We have another surprise for you when it comes time for our first Beyond. We just have a ton of cool shit planned for you guys. So, But with that being said, we do have a task to get to today, and that's talking about the metagame, because a lot of you guys have questioned, perks and how that all is going to work. And so today we're going to pretty much just kind of take your questions, show you guys it in the build, and show you guys what to expect on August 18th, which is coming up extremely quick.
Indeed. And the other piece of that too, for everyone to just take note of, is this build is a little older. It's not the launch candidate, because we keep those two things separated so that what's going into launch, is the solid one. This one is a bit dated back, and so we can poke at it and break stuff and do all that kind of thing. So you're going to see some wording or maybe descriptors that are in the metagame as we're going through them. Those are not final. You may see some placeholder, even temp stuff. That's just how games are made. But we're lifting the hood. And we're going to letting you guys see a little bit of stuff as we're on an older build that's not quite finished yet. But the point of this discussion was to get into sort of the high level of the metagame, understand how perks and stuff work. How do you spend your XP and that kind of stuff throughout that system? That's what we wanted to get into and show you. But just know that some of those elements may change. The numerical values may change. The wording will change. Some of that kind of stuff. So again, it was just to lift the hood and show you guys what's going on, and then be able to answer some questions with you guys one-on-one. So I think without further ado, a quick shout out, by the way, to Rockbox, who is and Mighty Mail over both running the
there they are.
over running the ones and the twos, so to speak. They're running our whole stream for us, and big shout out to the production team over there. So
yeah, making all of this happen, there's a significant amount of cameras, lights, microphones, wiring, dragging computers in here, setting them up to be able to show the build. I mean, we had things set up, but that's the nature of creating live content, is on the day that you're supposed to go live, you always have that moment of, oh, we're going to need this. And so, huge thanks to everybody. But I think the logical spot to kind of transition into metagame is going to be talking about some of the things that you guys might have noticed. You noticed during the technical test that you guys had 3 perks assigned. Those were just the same for everyone. But victims had the same 3 perks no matter which victim you loaded up as. There's also a bigger part of this, and that's really kind of the core of the victim character, the victim's persona, and that's their star sign ability. The star sign ability in game it's what makes Connie good at picking locks. It's what makes Julie, speedy on her feet. It's what makes Leland be able to throw a shoulder into a family member and take them down. It's not just some magic power we arbitrarily assign to them. These were built by Ronnie, our creative director, Rob, our designer, the teams at Sumo, the teams at Gun all had input on this. And, it stems from that concept of creating unique characters that all have their own personalities, backstories, all of that. And that ability is really the root of that character. And so I think probably the best way to start is going to be to pull up the metagame tree and jump right into it, right? And guys, I know Wes is fielding some questions. He's going to kind of keep an eye on the hot topic questions, the most asked, and we'll get to those in a bit. But for now, let's stop fiddling around and we'll show you. We have a controller on the coffee table that really is like grandma's basement. All right, so we got Connie here, right? Now the first thing to remember, like I said, the star sign ability, that's their key ability. Oh, that sound, I love it.
Yeah.
The
Shout
star
out to
sign
Ross on that one.
Yeah, the star sign ability, that's the key of their whole character, rather. So you notice here with Connie, when we load up Connie, focused is right there. That's the first node that we're on. So
real quick, just Rob, as a heads up, they're saying the game audio is super loud. So let's dial that back a little. I've seen 2 comments that mics are a touch low.
Oh, okay.
So maybe boost the booms just a little, and then bring that game volume down some. Sorry you guys. This is like I said, we're just kicking this thing off. So there's going to be some little things like that, and it helps. It seriously helps when you guys are like, hey, that's too loud, or that needs to be boosted, or whatever. So
if the mics were low, everybody stay where you are. We'll start the whole thing over.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. I'm going to let Rob do his thing there, and I'm not going to get too far. Oh, we're already good. Thanks, Rob. So yeah, like I said, star sign ability being the core of the character, it's the first node that you would touch on your loadout screen, right? It's the first thing that you would want to tinker with. For Connie, it's focused, so if you lock in here, you see that you can kind of start navigating this tree and unlocking different things that will modify her star sign ability, which happens to be focused. Focus is the ability, for those of you who haven't played the tech test, that allows you to pick locks at a quicker speed.
I have a question for you, Matt.
You have a question for me? Let's hear it.
This isn't from chat. This is from me.
Oh, okay.
Why did you choose star signs?
Well, you see, Wes, in the original 1974 film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're driving in the van, and Pam has this astrology handbook. And, that time of that point in history, astrology was really big, and it was very, it was common for people to talk about their star signs and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
What that makes,
Horoscopes, all that stuff was really taken off. To the youngsters in chat, there used to be a thing called a newspaper that you would get delivered to your house, and in the newspaper would be a whole section about your horoscope, and people actually were really into talking about that. And that age, that era of mysticism becoming more into the pop culture and more relevant, you started seeing that a lot around that time period. And that obviously bled into when Toby was set designing and putting all these things together for the film, having one of the lead characters carrying this book. So if you go back and watch the '74 film, you'll see that book is on the dashboard, and she's holding it a few times. She's talking about it. So we gleaned from that, like, well, what if that idea of a star sign, what if that was what we sort of grokked and put into how the metagame works? So that was the inspiration for why this looks the way it is, why it says the things that it says. So deep cut for you horror nerds out there.
And it's important to remember too that not only did people really look at those horoscopes as they were very common and very popular and all of that, but and even still to this day, a lot of people treated it like that defines me, and that really affects who I am as a person and all of that. So again, those thematic elements, that thread runs throughout, and the star sign ability being the trunk of the skill tree for these people, makes sense that would be their kickoff point. So, going back to the game now. Yeah, star sign ability. So, focused. Connie's ability. Connie grew up on a farm. Connie is handy. She's good with it. She's technical and can handle those kinds of small details and small trickery that it takes to pick locks and things. So, one of the most important things to note about this is, obviously, when you load the game up for the first time, you won't have any points here to spend. But as you do have points to spend, instead of it being a matter of, well, I'm going to unlock, say, this node right here, right? And you'll see what just happened here. This is something that we felt was pretty important. You know, being able to say, well, we need to have decision points in this. So you can't jump to this node on the far left and then go all the way over here and grab this next one, or potentially just keep spilling points into this tree and fill the whole thing up. We wanted it to be decision-based in the metagame, where every choice you make throughout this tree and what we'll show in a minute, which is the full skill tree, has a reward and a consequence. So, in other words, you know, basically everywhere you go, every time you select something in our metagame, you're going to see other things are X'd out. But most important to remember is you can respec at any point in time. You can wipe all your points out of this, keep them, redo this. We don't want changing what you've chosen in this metagame to be resetting it to be a punishment. We want you to jump in and be able to tinker with this, because we've all played these multiplayer games where that's the fun of it, being able to build up a character.
Absolutely.
You face off against a different type of player, or some, maybe, you know, as people get more skilled and the counters start to surface, you want to change that build.
Is there any cost to that respec?
No.
Right.
No. You pull all your points out, you put them back in, and then, I mean, honestly, the idea of theory crafting builds and being able to run through and share builds.
I'm glad you're getting into this.
Yeah, the idea of being able to theory craft them, run through them, share them with your friends, say, you know, get those great Reddit threads going where you're like, well, I built this really great Leland. If you want to try it out, here's a screenshot of my skill tree. That's something that we really felt is kind of important to that subculture of the community.
Oh, yeah. Because even when you move from early game, you're just learning how to play, and you're starting to get into that mid and maybe even the late game, you're starting to go up against family members or vice versa, whatever, that are starting to become higher skill. And maybe that build and stuff you've been running with, it's not doing like it was before. And you need to start that theory crafting. You need to start talking to friends and look online and try to find, like, man, if I'm playing against a higher level family that looks like this, you know, if it's, you know, a Leatherface and whatever, if you know you're going up against that, having that sort of preset idea of, like, you know, I've been reading online and they say that this type of Connie is, like, you know, really, really beneficial, especially if I have a good, you know, insert other victim on my team. You can start to really craft that, and there shouldn't be a penalty to wanting to explore that and wanting to, no, I want to try this different build and see what it feels like. So that was, you know, the genesis of that. But let's get back into it.
Yeah, you know, you see this kind of play out in every multiplayer game where builds for, you know, a catch-all term emerge. And what I think is always interesting about that is how quickly you can have, exactly like you said, that conversation online where you go, well, I want to try this out. I want to tinker with this. Maybe we're talking 2 years from now and you've unlocked everything and you want to just kind of play around. That flexibility is there. So.
Well, the homie Pooch Dog Live asked a quick question.
Oh, let's hear it.
Can you make different build loadouts and save them?
Yes, you can.
Boom.
So, now, here's the thing, though, Pooch. Your tree, the routes you take in your tree are what you get. And all of those perks will go into your pool to make your loadouts from, and you can make 5 loadouts from that pool. But if you want to get things in, your tree, in other words, is not tied to your loadout. So it's not, right. Each loadout doesn't have a different route in the tree. But again, we're jumping ahead because...
Yep. This will be explained a little more when we get a little deeper.
To the skill tree, yeah. Right now, I just want to show you one more thing on this. So again, like I said, as you move here, when you hit this top tier of your ability tree, this is when you get to the ones that are really, like, in my opinion, these are the real, like, game-changing levels of this.
Yeah.
The prior rungs of the ability tree are going to change things that already exist within that ability. They're going to make that cooldown better, or the duration of a skill better, things like that. They're gonna tweak those knobs. But when you get to this top rung is when you really get into some things, and I don't want to spoil all of them, and we're not going to show every single one because that's part of the fun of the discovery. But
Right.
there is monumental changes in each one of these ability trees in this top tier. So you want to get there, and you want to know when you get to that rung. If you were going for this far left unlock, you would have to be somewhere along middle or left, but in the ring prior. Because if you're all the way, if you're all the way over here, and you want to make your way to the far left, that's not going to be possible.
And how do you achieve these rings? How do you move through this system? Some folks are asking, like, is it how do you? Are you earning points? Or are you earning?
Yeah.
Right.
As you play and rank up your character, you'll unlock more points to spend in here. But this is again on a little bit of a slower progression, given that there's only the 3 rungs.
Right.
It's a little bit of a slower progression. So we do want people to feel like, while you can move through the skill tree with your skill points at a pretty good clip, there is another layer of promotion going on throughout the process of playing.
Right. And again, someone asked again, can you respec these? Yes. There's no cost to respec. If you built all this out, you took it to a match, you didn't like how it felt, you can just go right back in again, reset, and there's no penalty to doing that. You can just go back and reassign your points and choose a different path. And work towards, what you think is the build that you want. Or again, maybe one of your friends said, you ought to try this type. You can move through that with no penalties.
As a matter of fact, keen-eyed people will see I just respect this tree while we were chit-chatting.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show you, though, there's intent behind each one of these choices, because I just, for the sake of argument, ran up the right side. But now you see that this perk is now, or this far left unlock in the top tier is now off limits to me. So you do have to think about it a bit, and that's why free respecs is something we want you to be able to do. And there we go, respecing again, and we can run through the whole thing again. But we're going to get out of here now, because while this is the root of the character, I think that's a pretty good rundown. This is going to change your character's core, their core ability that makes you choose a Connie. You choose a Leland so you can throw the shoulder, but you choose a Connie for, her unlockability, and that's going to really tune that up. This is the real meat of the metagame, and this is the actual skill tree. As you can see, it's all kind of fog of war out. You have to unlock your nodes on your way through it. So we'll just go through before I get into that.
Yeah.
Let's bring it in and let's talk for a minute.
Let's huddle for a second.
Let's talk for a second, gang. Yeah. So that's West. The thing with the skill tree that's important to realize. Each path, there's a set number of paths, really. I mean, it's not written in stone, but you can go somewhat to the left, you can go up the middle, you can go to the right. There's deviation in those paths, but by the same note, you will find certain things in the left-hand side, certain things in the center, and certain things in the right. When you first open up and, first jump into the game, all of that's going to be fogged out to you. As you play and rank up, unlock those things and make your way through, and, you're going to have to do that. Well, that perk looks like something I would want right now. And so now you've set out on a path, and you're going to make your way up through that tree. That fog of war goes away as you unlock that, but when you respec, it stays cleared for you. So it's really just a matter of getting in there, tinkering, learning, understanding what's available to you, what worked, what didn't, and playing around with that respec and building. But as you start dodging through those different paths, you're going to be pulling all of those items into that pool again that you can build up to 5 loadouts from. The idea with the 3 paths is, really we wanted to say, if you've made it through to the end of this tree, so you've played Connie a whole bunch, you chose the right-hand side of the skill tree, you ran up there and got every attribute point and every perk that you can. Now you're at the end of that tree. That's all cleared out to you. You can, if you really enjoy playing Connie, you can respec that out and work on the middle tree and clear that. And you're basically getting this discovery in triplicate. And once it's all done, I mean, we're talking, top tier long-term players will get to this point where they've got that whole tree unlocked, and they're in there just noodling around and having a good time with that, making different loadouts and things like that. So that being said, let's jump back over to the skill tree, Connie's skill tree, and we're going to start poking some things here. This is I want to say my favorite perk in the game.
Oh,
and
right off the rip, you start with your favorite.
Yeah, you know why? It's it's not a matter of power, but it's a matter of I know I can get to it early.
Yeah.
And so, I know that at any point playing, I know I can grab a perk like this. But anyway, we're going to move on because I don't want you reading that perk description too closely.
That's the thing I said at the top of the stream here, in case you guys are just now tuning in. This is an older build, so the copy you're reading on the screen, the descriptors, the values, and things like that, those are subject to change because the launch candidate is not the same thing as what we're showing you today. It doesn't mean that the game is dramatically different. It's just some of the last things we're doing is like tightening up some of the wording and making sure that like we spelled words correctly.
Yeah.
Because human beings are making all these things, and we always go back and try to triple check everybody's work and changing some of the wording here and there, because sometimes they're just temp things that we drop in so that we know what, it could be sort of dev shorthand that we've dropped into things. So if you see something that you're like, what? No, that's what that's about. So
there's also something to be said for, I don't want to linger on any of these cards too long, because while there's some folks that want to know what every perk is, what it does, and how it works, there are other people that want to understand how the metagame works, but they don't want that all spoiled just yet. So,
right.
But this is something important to go back to. This is one of those branched path nodes, right? So as you start navigating through the skill tree, you'll hit these choice moments. On the left of the metagame tree there, you could see one that I haven't made a choice in yet. And right over here, you can see one that I did. That means that this route is now closed off to me, and this route is now closed off to me. Early game, once before you've been down those roads, you can't see what you might have missed there. And I know that might be a little frustrating, but don't worry. Again, respecs are free. So going through to here, I hit my first branched path beyond that initial decision point. I can see a bit in my tree here, goes in each different direction. Looks like this path links up again. So what I get over here is going to be a couple of perks, but what I get over here is going to be, looks like a bunch of attribute points. So I'm going to pick the left-hand side. And we're going to start unlocking things. Now, whenever you have a stub route like this, you can go to the end of this stub route without any consequence. As long as you don't see this icon, you're not making effectively a tree-altering decision. That's a stub route that you can spend some extra points in. So we'll go down here and just clean those up real quick.
Again, because the point of this, you guys, I know there's some people in chat saying like, whoa, this is bigger or deeper than I thought it was going to be. I mean, the point of this aspect of the game is very strategy focused. You're really thinking about, these decisions, that they matter whenever you're wanting to create the build that you want to bring into a match and see how it holds up against different levels of people that you're going to be up against. So I'm excited that you guys are seeing the depth here. But again, these aren't just click it and forget about it sort of things. Like there is a strategy of which path you're going to take to get to where the things that you want.
Yeah, one of the earliest goals for this was right now we're on the Connie tree, so we'll use her as an example. We didn't ever want my Connie to be the same as your Connie,
right?
Or Rob's. These characters, again, their star sign ability puts them in a certain role within a victim squad, right? Mm-hmm. Their baseline attributes puts them in a role, but then you start thinking about, well, we don't want to custom bake these all up to a point where it's kind of like, well, I'm playing Connie, so I know that I'm going to be this way.
Right.
We still wanted so as much as we wanted them to have purpose and a role and everybody has a function in a match, we wanted to make sure that you could still get those elements in there that made you feel like this was my build.
Right.
And then again, going back to what we talked about in the top of the show, which was, being able to that sharing that starts to emerge from that community that starts to emerge from that. But again, the main thing being my Connie shouldn't look like your Connie, which shouldn't look like, neither of which should look like Rob's Connie, and on and on and on.
Because what it comes down to, honestly, is that play style. Yeah. It's like how do you want to play a Connie? And if you navigate this appropriately and you really test it, respec it, come back, do another build, keep poking at it, and try to match it towards matches you've already played. You may be like, man, I wish Connie could have done this. I wish this could have happened in this other way. You get back into that tree and start looking through it, and you may find, hey, there's actually a pathway here that if I take it, it's really going to turn that tide a little bit for me and make this type of character more like what I wanted to, like what I want them to match the kind of play style that I want to play as. So again, it matters when you move through that tree, and I hope you guys are starting to see and feel that it's more than just, you don't blindly just crank at buttons and then get what you get. Like there's some strategy to it.
Yeah, and if at any point I move through this tree a little too fast, again, that's partially
Yeah, there's some
spoilers
questions that
and-
are popping up, but again, I know some of these you guys were going to be answering as we continue to move through this. I don't want to jump ahead too much.
Right.
So I'm not purposefully like just going, I'm not going to answer you. It's just, we're about to get to that.
We don't want you to feel like you're being ignored, but another thing that's important to note is, like I said, first off, I'm moving through the tree quickly because again, it's not about the individual perks. We want to try to leave a little mystery for you guys on launch day, but. The other important thing is we keep talking about victims right now. We have an entire mirror of this for the family. So there's all of this. There's the abilities. You're familiar with maim and bane and hunt and trap and those kinds of abilities that we've given to the family members. They also have their own, whole skill trees with attribute points and grandpa perks, which we haven't even touched on yet. So let's get back to the tree. And yeah. So again, like I said, we're moving through this left-hand side, and we're going to have to keep unlocking perks and making our way up. Now, this account is pretty well and truly boosted up, so we have plenty of points to make it to the end of the tree. But again, keen-eyed people might be noticing that we're hitting a question mark perk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the fun part is here? We get to pull a slot machine handle for a little bit of a.
Yep.
Now, slot machines are not exactly the most popular thing in metagames. Don't worry, this isn't this is one random node that we can choose to attack. When you're navigating through your trees, you can see these question marks come up. You know that there's a chance that when you unlock that, you'll get something that maybe for you personally, you're not that interested in, but you also know that there's a chance that you could end up pulling one of the strongest perks in the game through that part of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's different every time you respec. And usually it's counterbalanced by attribute points and things like that. So avoiding that random node might give you a surplus of attribute points that you wouldn't otherwise have, might give you a perk that you can see that isn't random, that you already know you want, but you could also then choose to take the gamble and get Jack in the Box. Actually, a pretty damn good perk. I'm not going to show you what that card says. So... yeah, and now you can see here, extra attribute point. These are ones that I speed through a bit because again, we have a surplus of points because we've boosted this account up, but also we know what they do. That's basically something we'll be able to use in our loadouts later, which we'll get to. We've got 5 loadouts to show you guys as well. So whenever I click these attribute points quickly, it's not me trying to breeze by nothing, but we've got one more major decision point here. Now this is when it gets fun because you want to be able to look at this and go, okay, well, the left side is heavy with attribute points. Looks like the right side is heavy with attribute points. But what do we have here? Efficient Locksmith. That's a very Connie perk. And then we have Pick on Me. Now, Pick on Me is a pretty cool perk, so I'm going to head this way and keep this moving right along through all of these attribute points. Honestly, I think you're starting to realize either side of that branched path there, we had 2 perks that both would be... not only impactful, but they both make a lot of sense for a Connie build in all aspects. They're either side of that choice node is going to be perks where it's kind of hard to find a negative in either one of them. But again, it's about making sure that you're moving your way through the tree and doing your due diligence a bit to see what else is out there and what all you can get, given each different path.
A few folks asking about gameplay. Are we going to show gameplay? This stream is about discussing the metagame. It was one of the biggest questions that we were getting on just about everywhere, from social to our Discord, everywhere. Everyone wanted to know, how does this work? How does this work? And instead of just throwing you guys to the wolves in the dark and not knowing how this system works, we wanted to have this stream to sort of give you a high-level idea of what it is. That's why we advertised it as this stream is about metagame. So if you came here expecting to see gameplay, I suggest maybe watching some of the footage from the technical test, and who knows, maybe in a future stream between now and launch, you might see some gameplay. But
Sure.
Today's stream is about metagame. So if that's why you're here and you're hitting us with resident sleepers, well, then kick rocks. That's not what the stream's about. That's why we advertised it as this. But nonetheless, there probably will be something in the near future with some
Absolutely.
gameplay.
We're so close to launch too. Here's the other thing I wanted to point out, though. Now, you might have noticed in the lower left-hand corner there, you see Connie and you see Connie's level. As you navigate through the tree, Connie has a level, and my account has a level. The reason I bring that up is because when you see a Connie in the lobby who's a level 10, you know that Connie immediately, regardless of the player's level, that Connie's completely through her skill tree. She's at the top of the skill tree, has all of whatever perks she's unlocked at her disposal to build her loadouts. And the reason that's important is I can be a high-level player but have a level 1 Connie in the lobby, and you know that my loadouts are made up of a couple of smaller, lower-level things maybe, or if anything at all. I might have a totally empty loadout at that point.
Yeah.
So a couple of people saw this through the tech test and through the pre-launch event. The two different ranks. Again, player rank and character level are two very different things. Player rank is how much Matt, have played the game. My character rank is how much I've used Connie, if that's who I have selected, or how much I've used Leland. And that's very important and telling, because in those lobby screens, you're not going to see what the other people have equipped. You're only going to see their overall player ranks and their overall account ranks. So we wanted some way to surface that info to you. So if you're in a lobby and you see everybody on the other team it's a team made up of all level 10 family members, you have to bring your A game. A little bit of a hat tip.
Yeah, someone was asking, like, is that what the little number above the red windmill in the tech test?
Yes.
The layout was talking. That's what that was your player level and then your character level. And the point of that system is, like Matt was saying, or if I'm playing the game West, my level as a player may be 10, but I only play a Sunny maybe a little bit, and so I only have like a level 3 Sunny. But what you'll find is that system works well in that the more that you're playing different characters, different victims, you'll start to realize it's very Swiss Army knife like, where you need to choose the right one. You'll start seeing, like, as this game comes out and people are playing it, because we see it even in our dev tests, that when you jump into a lobby and then you see who's coming in as victims, like what they're choosing, you then may go, oh wait, like I need to check it. I don't need to bring my Connie in because, this person is Leland and they're going to play this whatever. Like you'll start to you'll feel that change. And so it's important to have those two things separated, is how long you've been playing as a human, as a player, but then as each one of those, how much time you sort of put into those. And that can start to really turn the tide too, because if you pop in and see there's a level 8 Connie or something with a player that's a level 15 or something, you might be like, dang, like that this person's going to be legit, they're going to be quick, they're going to be moving well. I need to now pull in a supportive role to come in and shadow Connie, give some protection, like let's let this thing move. And that's also going to, then you're going to see the family do the same thing. They're going to be like, oh shit, there's a high level Connie in here. We need to call an audible, guys. Like we need to get some bruisers in here. Right, you might start to see that the family side shift and change out, and people switching in and out, sort of pitch hitting for the appropriate task. So keep that in mind. But there was a real quick question that someone said, and in here there's never a dumb question. People said, "What does metagame mean?" I've never heard that term before. Metagame, meta meaning like the game within the game. When you're not playing the physical game, like in a match, running or killing, you're in the menu system, going through your XP and your abilities, your attribute points, going through that system. In developer world, that term is called the metagame, is what that's called. So when you hear us reference that, or the stream title or whatever being called Metagame Explained, that's a little bit of a shorthand on the dev side to say we're talking just about this facet of the game. It's what you'll be spending some of your time in between matches, when you're theory crafting and thinking about, I just leveled up, what do I want to do? You're in the metagame system. So that's what that term means. Good question, by the way, in chat.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is really interesting about the term metagame, and what I think is really cool about what we've built here is, this really is a game within a game. Because if you're the kind of person who's going in and you're working your way through these skill trees and you're going, I'm just making all of my characters this. I'm making all of them high endurance. I'm making them, all of them that. You're kind of not really playing the game within the game. Being able to look at it and say, I'm setting myself up for all scenarios by making all of my characters a little something different. I'm playing to certain strengths. I'm balancing out other weaknesses.
Yeah. Playing to the strengths. That's an important one.
Play to their strengths. Balance out weaknesses. Make something really neat so that when you're sitting there and you're looking at your overall toolkit, which is all 5 victims or all 5 family members, that's playing the game within a game. So then when you slot into a lobby, you can go, They have a this, a this, and a this. They're ranked this, and this, and this. I'm bringing my Sonny into the match because I know
Toolbox
he's
is
going
the
to work out.
perfect analogy because it would make no sense to go to Lowe's and just buy flathead screwdrivers.
Right.
You need a full set. You need hammers. You need all the tools to get the job done. So think of it that way. When you're in your victim and you're choosing which one you want and you're going through that ability tree, you need to start thinking that way. How do I want to use this? How do I play them to the strengths of this character and play to the strengths of how I want to play this game? How I want to. Maybe you want to be stealthy. Maybe you want to be fast. Maybe you want to be a little bit more of a tanky or protective type of role. Start thinking in those terms whenever you're moving through this system. And again, you don't always be a Phillips head screwdriver. Like you're only going to get used every now and then. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
So
let's jump back into it.
Let's get back to this. All right, so again, I'm at level 9 now with Connie, and you'll see here when I hit these last few points, I've now reached the end of the tree and I'm level 10. So now you know each character you can take to level 10 by progressing. You don't have to progress through all 3 routes because that's not possible, again, with those decision points. But you have to make it to the end of the skill tree. So, yeah, this is the route I've chosen. Now let's go back out here and let's see here. Oh, a little tough to see. Let's tab over this way. There we go. Here's our loadout screen. Now, like I said, we get, 5 different loadouts. You can see here, I'm on loadout 1 right now. Oh, wait, there we go. How do I change my loadout?
You can see that.
I'm old and my eyes don't work.
I hear you, dude. Is it possible, Rob, to throw game to full screen for us just for a short little bit here?
Rob, I'm a million years old, buddy.
We're just having a hard time reading what's going on. There we go.
There it
full
is.
screen, baby.
Yeah, left trigger. There we go.
Left
right
trigger, right trigger, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Rob, you should have said that earlier, man. So
I wanted
anyway,
to watch you fumble.
yeah, I have 5 loadout screens. In testing, my character gets wiped out so often that I really have 1 loadout. I haven't even enjoyed this yet. But you have 5 loadouts here. Each one of your 5 loadouts, you can assign different perks from your pool that you've unlocked. Now, you'll notice on the perk screen here, I only have access to the perks that I've unlocked. Rob, you can go back to the other there. So, thanks, Rob. You'll see that I only have perks that I've unlocked so far in the skill tree. That's why those choices that you make in the skill tree are so important, because those go into that pool that you can then pick from to make your 5 loadouts. But I also have attribute points that I can assign down here if I want to spill these out differently. We're going to breeze through this because, again, this isn't anything, this is basically all of those attribute points that we've unlocked in the skill tree. We can dump into our different perks, or different attributes of choice. We can assign our perks up here, get them all set up. As you can see, I can have a separate modifier for my ability, and then jump up here and switch loadouts, and you see what happens there with all of your attribute points and everything else. There's nothing locked. Once you spend those attribute points, they're not locked in. Even though you spent them in loadout 1, they're not locked in for loadout 2. I think that's something important to note because, in a lot of games like this, loadouts mean 3 different perks. I get 3 different perks, I get 3 different perks.
Right.
In this, you get to use those attribute points differently. So for loadout 1, you might dump them all into endurance, but for loadout 2, you want to dump them all into stealth, or however you want to do it.
And how many of those loadouts can you save? 5.
5.
Good question. I saw that pop through chat.
Yeah, 5 loadouts per character. So and like I said, anytime you respec your tree, you can take a different route, rebuild all your loadouts, all of that.
And again, no penalty when you respec.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, wait. Let's jump back into the skill tree real quick. Excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat there. So now respec, I remember which button respec is, Rob. You're not going to get me again. So now you'll notice I hit respec, but this side of the tree is still all unlocked because we've been down there. There's really it felt more of a punishment to be like, well, now that you respec, we're wiping all that out again because we want you to adventure through here. So now you might want to work your way up the center route, get that all cleared out. And maybe even once you work your way up the center route, you might say, I'm immediately going to respec and go up the right-hand side route because I know I have enough points to do so. That's fine. Uncover the whole thing and start looking around and mapping out what you want. I look forward to the day that we know is coming post-launch where you guys are on Reddit sharing screenshots of your skill tree saying, well, I took my Leland this way, and look what I was able to do. And that subsection of the community, I think, that's really going to be something with this game.
Yep.
So yeah, like I said, now because I chose the middle route, you can see those others are locked out for me.
And again, guys, this stream is dedicated to discussing the metagame. I know there's some folks that are passionate about cosmetics, but that's not what this stream is about. We are just getting into this high level of what do you unlock? What does it mean? What are the attributes? All these things. That's what we're trying to go through here and explain because it was the number one request we were getting. If people are that passionate about wanting to get into discussing cosmetics in a future stream, we can get in and talk about some of those things. But right now, we're just trying to hit that number one thing that we were hearing from the community.
Yeah.
We always try to listen to what you guys say and try to get you that information as fast as we can. We thought this was the best way we could do it because if we just took a bunch of screenshots of this and wrote something up on our community hub, it's going to be a lot of reading. And this felt like a better way to do this is to where we can answer questions, we can show it in real time. This made sense to us as a way to do that. So some of you in chat that are saying, I want to see gameplay, I want to see cosmetics, I'm sorry, that's not what the stream is about. But in the near future, I can see both of those things being discussed.
And what you mentioned there, an important thing to note, we have a hub post outlining all of this going up as soon as we, as a matter of fact, it's up on the website now. We'll be putting it out over social soon.
Yeah.
The reason for that is we know that some of you would rather read about the metagame, and that's fine, or maybe access it again after the fact.
Right.
This VOD will be up, so you'll be able to go back and watch it again if you want to see us talk you through it, but you'll also be able to go to the website, the txchainsawgame.com, go over to the community hub, read all about the metagame, and learn more about it. Basically, like I said, like Wes said, this was the one thing that people were walking away from it going, well, I don't understand this, or I feel like I would rather my character had a little of that. And we were sitting here fielding these questions and a lot of this feedback going, well, metagame answers that. Well, metagame answers that. Well, metagame takes care of this. So it was high time that we showed you guys this. But again, like Wes said, it was not something that can live solely in a hub post. We had to just get in there and show it. And besides, we wanted to stretch out Grandma's basement and see what's going on down here. So
you care to answer a couple?
Yeah, let's do some Q&A.
Sorry, this may have been answered already, but can you only get skill tree points by playing that specific character, or can you play one character and then put those points into another?
Banger question. You can use your points across characters.
And I think there's similar here. I saw that question, I think, 3 times already. So they were answered in somewhat different ways, but I think that's what.
Well, and I can go into a little more detail on that. Really, again, the thinking behind that is we want you in there and enjoying and playing the game. And if you're having a great time playing as Sunny, but his tree is filled, why should you switch a character just so you can feel like you can progress?
Right.
I don't want to change characters because I'm forced into a different character in order to continue progressing. So keep playing and do what you got to do. You build up skill points with one character, respec, spend them else.
This is probably sort of a joint question, but the question was, will this metagame get regular balance updates after the game comes out? Obviously it will. We'll constantly be working on it if we find something that needs to be tuned. If we're seeing it, if we're hearing it, that something's off, obviously we're going to get in and make those adjustments appropriately so that the game still feels good and fresh and fun. What we know is frustrating is if there's something that's put in there that it feels like it either needs to be nerfed or boosted. We get it. Now, those things aren't always instant because those get rolled into usually a full patch and then a patch goes out. So instead of if we find like one thing that's wrong, like one perk feels it needs to be adjusted and we can make that adjustment, the adjustment isn't the hard part. It's now we have to push a build across every single platform globally. That takes time to do. So what we usually do is roll in more bug fixes into that. So it takes a little longer to push one full patch out. But yes, you'll always see us, listening to see what's going on. If we see something that seems off, then yeah, we'll constantly be making those changes to the game.
And one extra thing to note there that I think is important. Again, that 3-branch, 3-route structure that we have leaves us a lot of room later to be able to say, well, if you take this right-hand track, people are able to get through like tic-tac-toe and get a few too many things that kind of throws the balance out of whack. So we can move nodes over to different branches of the tree, move them around further up in the tree, so you're getting them later. There's a lot we can do there. We're confident in, shout out to Stephen Kirby and Jack Palmer over at Sumo Digital. We're confident in what we've put together with them to balance this tree out. Jack spent, I don't know how long. All of the perks were written on Post-it notes and sticking them to the walls in Sumo, saying, well, if we let them get these right away on this one route, that could be dangerous. So we've put a lot of thought and effort into it, but we're also, made sure that we left ourselves in a position to tweak and tune later.
Methodical Eyes, streamer we know, jumped in and said, are you guys planning on adding additional perks, over time throughout the game? And I think that's the definitive yes. There will be adjustments and things added. It's all after the fact. It's like, let's get the game out and see how things are going and see that how people are leveling, how people are playing the game, and then adding and stuff to the game will always be a thing we want to do. It's really it's the success of the game and how popular is it. Is there are a lot of people playing it? Do we see that demand staying high? Are servers staying full? Are people coming to us with their own suggestions and things? Then yeah, we start to make some moves on that front for sure. So I hope that answers your question. Got a few more here that's popping in.
See, when we used to stream Tales and Beyond, I always had the tablet. And I don't want to say that you underestimated what it's like reading the chat for questions, but they fly by you, huh?
They're going about a little quick.
Yeah. I just saw him scroll like that. He paused on the thing.
I answered one question,
and then he was like, "Okay, so yeah."
Yeah.
Let's if anybody has any remaining questions, let's get them answered. And if not, again, remember that all of this is going to be documented on a hub post. Our community manager Sid has gone to great lengths to put together this really exhaustive hub post all about the metagame. But also the VOD will be there for you to watch. And you can also reach out to us. You've probably seen it in our lower thirds and things from here out, but at TX Chainsaw Game on all social channels, including Threads, which is pretty neat.
Here we go. I'm gonna do some of these on the fly.
Let's hear it.
Can there be two or more of the same character in a round? No. Will there ever be plans to add cross proximity chat in the game? No. You're saying like. No, there's no plans for that. Will dedicated servers be a thing at launch? Yes. Oh, come on. There's some dad jokes mixed in here too.
Is J-Pops in chat?
Probably, but this was not.
That wasn't him?
Did Leatherface purchase his saw or did he steal it?
Let's go. STIHL?
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm sorry I've been coughing so much, everybody, too, but we've been doing a lot of things, doing a lot of talking.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get caught up here.
I think we're getting close, though. I would say that one of the other cool things to mention about the metagame in this is, again, like I had said earlier, we put together this metagame with the goal in mind of giving you guys a whole widespread amount of things to tinker with. We know that in the beginning of reveal and that period thereafter that, as we were revealing characters and talking about the characters and things like that, we kept saying things like, while each character has a role, we wanted you to be able to make each character feel like your own.
Yep.
And I saw more than a few people go, those two don't track. Like, that doesn't... And I think now that you guys have seen the metagame, I think you can understand what we mean by that. All Connies are going to be good at picking locks, but mine ain't going to be yours, ain't going to be his. And the thing I'm most looking forward to about August 18th is you guys getting in, unlocking a bunch of things in this metagame, tinkering around, playing with things, and like I said, sharing those builds, getting to that point where we have, this resource. The Reddit is a great place to go and share this kind of information and talk about how you built out your Leland versus his and so on and so forth.
At launch, is there a penalty if you DC? I don't remember what's in there, so.
A penalty if you disconnect from a match. We didn't want to penalize people for disconnecting because, this gets into a really tricky area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons, and I know, people DC from matches for not honest reasons all the time. They just don't like, they didn't get this or that. I'm not assuming that everyone's honest or anything like that, but there are, let's be real, there's still a lot of times that you disconnect from an online game and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
So,
it could have been even, we could have been rolling a patch, Steam could have gone, something weird
could
happened.
be a storm in your town.
There's no way to know the difference between a legit DC, like, out of your control, and then someone who's just rage DCing.
Right.
There's not really a way for us to monitor that. Like, we don't know when you press the power button because you're mad, or because a server hiccup, one of the platforms is having an issue, one of our partners or something, or power went out in your region, a storm went through. Like, there's no way to know the difference for those things. So right now, no, that's not something we have planned. Someone also asked, will there be a penalty if you lobby dodge? So if you pop into a lobby and you see that whoever character you wanted to play as is not available, is there a penalty for that? No. But the reason that there isn't one is because, and I'll just go on record and say, sure, you may have one that is your favorite, but I guarantee you that there is another 1 or 2 or even 3 characters in the game that you will also find very fun to play. Anyone that played the technical test that's in chat right now can probably, hit you with a yep after this, which is you probably went into this thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to play as Leatherface. And then you were like, but bruh, Hitchhiker's so fun. Mm-hmm. Or you were like, man, Hitch is cool. But you get in and you're like, man, Cook though, something about Cook. I'm vibing with it. So you'll be surprised whenever you do that, which is, again, feeds back into this metagame of why we built it the way we built it is for you to explore throughout all of these characters, play all these characters. They all have unique personalities, right? If you look at the family members, they're all mocapped by real actors. They move, their personalities come to life, their VO lines come to life. It's all different people. Like, all of these things are all going back into that same mindset, which is discover these characters and play all of them and see which one that you like. If you're coming into this with that mindset of, no, I want to play this one specific character, this is my character, and I'm not even going to look at any others, I mean, I guess you can if that's the way you want to play it, but I'm guaranteeing you're only going to see a fraction of the fun that can be in this game. And fun is the most crucial piece of this, right? Is the thing I want you to take away from this is the game's supposed to be fun. The game's not supposed to be competitive, right? That's not the point of the game. The point of the game is get in and have a blast and feel like you're living in the world of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's the point. All right. See if there's any other questions in here. We're just about to wrap it up, guys. So if there's some final ones that we did not answer, here's your time to jump in, say some things.
One of the things I will bring up that I think is important to note too, the whole lobby dodging or exiting out of the match, things like that. That's something that we can monitor and keep an eye on. So again, continue reaching out and talking to us on our socials, on Reddit, things like that. Once the game launches, talk to us, hit us up there. It's something we'll be keeping an eye on, but the team is pretty confident in the fact that top to bottom we have 5 fun victims and 5 fun family members to play as. So,
are you guys thinking about prestiging on the skill tree or giving prestige awards or flipping a maxed skill tree, that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, it's something that we talked about early on. You kind of, have to start to think in terms of, well, once we set down this path, it's kind of going to block us out from that path. And I don't even mean in the skill tree. I know that sounds like I'm talking about the actual skill tree, but I mean in the development of the skill tree, right? We wanted to be super lenient on respecs. We wanted to give you guys the opportunity to be able to go in, wipe everything out, go in again and redo it. The idea of working your way to the end of the skill tree and then prestiging, that locks that route. And so that's a hell of a decision to make, to say, I'm going up the right side route of this skill tree and I'm never going to be interested in the center or the left. Without having some routes closed off to you, then it's not a matter of really navigating the skill tree. It more becomes a matter of, I get points, I unlock things until there's no more things to unlock. So the complications with that, getting to the end and prestiging or flipping or whatnot, the complications with that start to move us away from what the goal of our metagame was. And the goal of our metagame really ultimately is creating builds, theory crafting, and customizing the victims and family members to your play style. So,
will the servers have skill-based matchmaking? It's a big question that's came through here. Like, I've seen it probably 40 times.
Skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah.
That's when I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't think that's in at launch. No, we don't have skill-based matchmaking. No.
Yeah.
Because again, it also sort of it starts to lean a little bit more into the competitive side. If it's a thing that absolutely, like, you know, if we're 6 months post-launch and it's like the biggest demand and we're like seeing that there's a major issue with like early players versus late players, I think it'll be a sort of come to Jesus moment for both Gun and Sumo, and we'll talk through like if this is a thing that needs to happen. Is there other alternatives to making that happen? You know, we'll be open to discussing that and figuring it out. But again, there was also a question about leaderboards. Is there going to be leaderboards? Again, no, because that again leads into a type of game that this isn't. It isn't a game about, look, I'm the best. This game is, I'm having fun with my friends. I'm making new friends. You know, there's a lot of people in chat here that I've seen their names many times because they're OG from Friday. And there are a lot of people in there that made lifelong friends in that game. And I think it's because of the type of games that Gun makes, is that it creates that type of camaraderie. And what we don't lean into is the competitive side of it, because it starts to breed a different type of player. It's not one that's right or wrong. It skews off of friendship sometimes. It starts to create a different atmosphere that doesn't fit into what I think the game's supposed to be, or even the IP itself. You know, when you watch Friday the 13th, when you watch Texas Chainsaw, you're with your homies sitting in a basement like this, eating popcorn and talking about what would you have done if you were in that situation, right? We make games that answer that question. That's the point of this. We don't make games to say, I'm better than you, right? It's a vibe difference, and it's what we do at Gun, and I hope you guys appreciate those types of games. It's the kind of games that we like to play. We like to laugh. We like to cut up with each other, and we think when you create a sandbox in a game that allows for that type of environment, people walk away from it, you know, having water cooler moments that they talk about and laugh with their friends later. And I think that's a more powerful connection than, ha, I'm better than you. But that's sort of the ethos of Gun, though. So if that sounds like something that you're like, no, I would rather play a game that's more competitive, there's probably a game on the market you can do that. Mm-hmm. And there'll probably be a lot more. And that's what's the beauty of the video game industry, is there are a lot of different games to choose from. You've got a lot of options, and different games can all coexist on the market. I know I have people coming to me asking me, what do you think about this game or that game? And don't you think of that game as a competitor? No, there's not a single game on the market right now that's a competitor, because you're all playing games, and that all pushes the industry forward. You know, we want to see more horror games. I've said it 100 times. I'm always the biggest cheerleader when new horror games or old horror games are adding new content or trying to push the genre forward. I'm always going to be there cheering it, because it makes it better for all of us. Like for devs, for players, it's all in the effort of trying to push the thing forward. It's never an us versus them. You know, our real competitors are like anything else that's like stealing your attention away from playing video games. You know, Instagram and Netflix, I would view them as more competitors than I would pretty much any other game that's on the market. So it's steeped into our culture here and in the type of games that we make, and we hope that you also, as the player base, connect in the same way. All right, guys, I think that probably wraps it up. I appreciate, again, all of you coming and joining us and hanging out with us. Our first stream. I mean, like, we were knocking off the cobwebs.
We sat down and we did our sound check, and we were like, check. And then I said, man, it's been a minute. It felt weird to be back here going live. But this special event stream, you know, again, like we had said, we had a lot of questions about metagame. We wanted to get those questions answered. We might have a few more tricks up our sleeve before launch, but also you can look forward to catching Tales from the Stream and beyond again once the game comes out. And yeah, we have a couple more surprises and things like that, so just keep an eye out. Continue talking to us on socials. Make sure you stop by the Reddit and hang out. Stop by the Discord. we have these really great communities built there. And honestly, I just want to thank everybody who's fans of our games for making the community around the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as good as it is. So make sure you keep hanging out with us. August 18th, we've only got a couple of weeks left, gang. And head over to the hub and read about the metagame in full detail so you can be that guy on Reddit that knows everything. And
Who's your friend beside you, by the way?
Oh! And don't stab Nugget. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us. Take care, and we'll catch you all. Oh, look it.
Look, there he is.
Rob through the cuddle cam.
You know, we need to. I think on our next stream, I think on our next stream we need to give some of those away.
Yeah, we do still have some. We might have a nugget or two laying around. Let's do that. Next time we go live, we'll give away a nugget. Like I said, thanks for hanging out, gang. We'll talk to you guys soon, and take care.
See ya.